Feed the viewers today. We will show you a horror story. I hope you like it and you have success. Mortuary Dweller. On the night of Sunday, October 31st, 1976, Tony Barron was doing his job guarding a warehouse. It was precisely 10:45 a.m. when he decided to take a break and went up to the roof with his cigarette and cup of coffee. The guard sat in the fresh air under the full moon and looked at the city and the distant and moonlit streets when his eyes fell on a school about 100 yards away from the warehouse. He saw two girls, with long hair, about the same age. They were between 16 and 18 years old. They were running in the schoolyard while watching them. They disappeared, but he kept staring at the stadium, hoping that young ghosts would reappear, but she did not. Uncomfortable, Tony returned to the warehouse through a door on the roof. Tony did not believe in ghosts, but he could find no explanation for what he had seen a little while ago. It certainly wasn't a hoax or a hallucination. The guard called his elderly uncle, Stan Jones, a retired policeman, to tell him about the strange scene he had just seen. After the uncle heard the story, he asked his nephew, Stan, did you not read the news recently? But Tony admitted that he only reads the sports pages in the newspapers. So he asked his uncle, saying, Why do you ask, uncle? And what does this mean with what I saw? Stan, it came in the newspapers about a week ago about the death of two sisters in a car accident in Bolton. He is only 15 years old, and the accident occurred while they were returning from the school that works near Tony. You're kidding. Tony felt a sudden shiver sweeping his entire body, but he let his uncle continue his conversation, which made matters worse by telling Tony about a strange experience he had experienced himself 11 years ago, in the warehouse that Tony was guarding. Uncle Stan. Around 1965, I do not remember the exact day, but it was in October the time the old guard of the warehouse invited me to drink a cup of tea because he was my friend, and after we sat together inside the warehouse he offered me tea with a sandwich and then went to the toilet as at the other end of the building. At the time I was not one of the people who believed in ghosts and the paranormal, but when the guard went, something happened that stayed on my mind for years. Maybe I shouldn't tell you what happened so that it doesn't stick in your mind too. Tony knows if he really wants to hear the rest of the story or not, but he's at the end. He asked his uncle to complete the story. Tony. I'm not afraid, Uncle Stan. Tony said it, watching the moon through the warehouse windows and watching the schoolyard anxiously, so the uncle continued saying, Uncle Stan. After the guard went to the bathroom, I suddenly felt so cold in the place that the steam was coming out of my mouth, and then I had this scary feeling that there was really something beside me. Tony. How, uncle? Tony asked nervously. Stan paused for a while and then came back and said, Uncle Stan, it's hard to explain that. It's like a situation in which people feel they are under surveillance, or that there are eyes looking at them, and I became really afraid of that place. Then I saw something. Are you sure that you are not afraid, Tony? Tony. A little bit, but my curiosity overcame my fear. Go on, Uncle Stan. I looked here and there and saw 3 or 4 things. I don't remember their exact number, but they looked like human bodies, and they were all covered with white sheets and were lying on the floor in a dark corner of the room and stayed there. She fixed until the guard came again, so I pointed at them and asked, What are those things covered there? But she suddenly disappeared before turning around. Tony. What did the keeper do next? Stan. Although he did not see them this time, he told me that it appeared to him several times before during his years in this place until he got used to seeing them. Tony. This is really strange. Here, Tony had a strange feeling that there was something near him, but he ignored his feeling and tried to dismiss his mind away by talking to his uncle. Uncle Stan, do you know what the guard told me at the time? Tony. No, what did he say? Uncle Stan. He said that the warehouse was built on a land above a mortuary a long time ago. Here the connection was cut off and Tony felt his hair standing up and there was something or someone approaching him from behind. Then I smelled a foul smell in the place. Then something more happened. He touched something cold to the back of his head. Guard Tony ran as fast as he could towards the main door of the warehouse, opened it, then continued running to the street and did not stop until he reached his uncle's house, which was closer to his warehouse. After his arrival, he told his uncle what happened before his escape, and after then his uncle asked him, "Why did you hang up the phone?" Tony. No, I did not turn it off. I thought you were the one who ended the call. Stan. This is weird. I worried about you, so I called again. Then an almost crazy woman answered me. She said to me, Tony left, and this is what he should have done to do it. Then she started laughing hysterically, Tony, but there was no one in the warehouse. A year later, Tony was sitting in a bar when he met a man who happened to work for 3 years in the same warehouse where Tony had worked, and said he left the job because of a frightening incident that occurred with him when he fell asleep at work one night. When he woke up, he found an evil-looking woman in a long white dress was standing over his head, smiling. Her face was as white as paper and her eyes were yellowish with black shadows surrounding her. There was also a disgusting smell like the smell of decomposition of flesh. Seconds later, the woman disappeared, and the stench faded quickly. I hope that the story will answer you. See you in the next video. Goodbye.